Hello, good morning. Actually, yes, good morning. We hope everyone had a safe, fun holiday weekend. It was a strange weekend not being able to go out, but nevertheless, it was a good 4th of July. My name is Dr. Stephen Evans, and I am the editor-in-chief and publisher of Outclick Magazine. I'm going to move my camera down just a little bit. There we go, much better. Today, we're excited to welcome Connie Kaplan from the law offices of Connie Kaplan to the show. Connie specializes in immigration law, so we want to welcome her to the show today. Hi, Connie.
Oh, hi, a pleasure to.
We're going to add you in. Connie, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the specialization of immigration law.
Okay, well, I'm starting first with the word specialization. We are not specialized in immigration.
Okay.
We focus on immigration exclusively. The
Okay.
word specialty is limited by the Florida bar to be used by board certified attorneys.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I don't want to be appearing as I'm misrepresenting myself. So
Okay.
we are an immigration exclusive law firm, and we have been
Okay.
doing immigration exclusively for 10 years. How I got into this is, well, I'm an immigrant myself, and it took me 16 years to get my papers, and it was daunting, full of obstacles and full of uncertainty. And I went through asylum, deportation proceedings, the whole 9 yards. And then the government lost my file on top of everything else. So if anyone understands what my clients are going through, it's certainly me. Been there, done that.
Mm, mm. Well, I'm glad you clarified that. That's one of the points. There are so many layers when it comes to immigration. I think it's a very foreign topic for a lot of people. And so as they're starting the process, they need someone to guide them in the terminology and all of the process. If you could maybe tell us, what are some of the issues facing foreign nationals who might want to marry a U.S. citizen?
Oh boy, there are many issues. First,
Mhm.
when the decision is made, the decision has to be made in light of their future together, what their goals are, their timelines, and how fast and how painless do they want the process to be. What may be right for one couple may not be right for another. If, for example, you are a US citizen and you are looking to be with your loved one and your loved one is here, the process would be totally different than if your loved one is abroad.
Mm.
If your loved one is abroad, you might want to bring them in first with a fiancé visa. Or depending on the timeline, it's probably best if you go there, get married, and then bring them here. In most cases, the foreign national is already in the United States. At least that's my experience here in Fort Lauderdale. But we help immigrants everywhere make the United States their permanent home. So we are not limited to Florida, South Florida. And
Okay.
in general, our US citizen clients who choose to marry a foreign national, the foreign national, it's already here. And at that point, what the best option is or what the issues are facing really depend on their immigration history, criminal history, marital history. There are no two cases alike. I have yet to see two cases that are identical. So what we see a lot is, well, my cousin got his green card in 6 months, or my friend, had the interview and they got the green card. The interview took 3 minutes. Well, there is something your friend is not telling you or your cousin is not telling you. And your case is not like your cousin's or like your friend's or whatever Google tells you.
Mm.
In terms of LGBT couples, it's a little bit more difficult because the burden of proof, while it is presumed to be the same and it should be the same, when it comes to LGBT couples, we have to prove a lot more, mostly because the officers are not necessarily educated in the issues faced. So a couple may not be out, and that's why they might not have a lot of documentations you would normally see in terms of family pictures or pictures with one side of the family. A lot more.
And that brings up a good question. I think what exactly is a green card? if someone is starting the process? What exactly is that?
I'm glad you asked that. The first, the first difference is in the way the people phrase the question. We get people who ask three different questions when generally they call us, especially people who have just arrived to the United States or US citizens who have never had any dealings with immigrants. They don't understand the process. So the first question is, how can I get my partner's citizenship? Well, the path
Okay.
to citizenship is very long and arduous, and it starts with first petitioning for your spouse or petitioning for your family member, and then you would get, that person would get as part of the process maybe a work permit, maybe not. Then they would
Okay.
get permanent residency, and after they get permanent residency, after a certain period of time, they get citizenship. So each of these levels come with different levels of rights. So the first would be the work permit, and you can only get a work permit if you have another application pending. Nobody can just come here and apply for a work permit,
Okay.
whether you like it or not. And that's a common question we had as soon as COVID hit. Then the second is you need permanent residency. The difference is the work permit expires in 1 year. Permanent residency could expire in 2, 10 years, or never. And it's different in rights and responsibilities. So the green card allows you to live in the United States, live, work, do almost everything that a US citizen can do in the United States, minus a few rights like the right to vote.
Okay. And these are all the things you get after you sign the actual marriage documents. Is that correct?
Getting
Or
married to a US citizen grants absolutely zero rights.
okay.
Just being married to a US citizen does not
Interesting.
confer an immigration benefit at all, unless
Okay.
you actually start the immigration process and you petition for your spouse.
Okay.
Nothing is happening. At the time you file and the government receives your application, you are in a period of authorized stay by the Attorney General, which is, we call it in limbo. You're not
Okay.
exactly undocumented or visa expired, but you don't have any status either.
Okay. But all of these levels that you're talking about, you must first legally be married, and then you can start all the application process. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, absolutely. So first you
Gotcha.
actually have to have the marriage certificate recorded with the county. People
Okay.
confuse an engagement with a marriage. People confuse getting a marriage license with a marriage certificate. Marriage
Okay.
license is when you go to the county and you get the license, you pay the fee, and then they give you 60 days to get married. Marriage certificate
Mm.
is when the ceremony actually did occur, and then you're married.
Okay. And just to note, if anyone has questions for Connie, we are taking them in the chat. If anyone has questions,
Yay, please do.
yes, please send us questions. And then, is marriage the only option for a green card? That's, I think, a question a lot of people have in mind.
Oh, they do. In some cases, it is indeed the only option. In most cases, it's not. And but people would not know what their options are until they actually come and meet with an immigration attorney, whether me or anybody else for that matter. Many people, let's put this as you wanting to go to see a dentist because you have a toothache. You don't know exactly if that needs a filling, you need surgery, you need the whole tooth extracted. You would not know that until you actually see the dentist. So don't assume that just because most people tell you you need to marry a US citizen, that is the only option available to you. There are many different ways of obtaining permanent residency in the United States. It could be through investment, through employment, humanitarian reasons such as asylum. There are many other different ways.
Okay. And do you work with clients for all of those different ways in addition to the marriage option?
Yes, we do.
You do? Okay.
Yes, we do. We help investors. We are helping people with job offers and employment offers. And those are harder to come by, especially now these days when many people, the unemployment rate is high. And we also help, mostly family petitions seems to be what our niche is. Right now, the latest policies, because of the very high unemployment rate that we have, is Buy American, Hire American. And job applications and job offers are disfavored, or the process will be taking so long that it's just not practical for most
Mm,
people.
okay. And if it's through a job offer, do they have to renew that? I know people who are here working and have been here for a while, and he talks about renewing it. Is that something they have to renew every year?
It depends on the type of work they do and the type of visa that they have. Some visas
Okay.
are for 3 years, some visas are for 1 year, some of them are limited to 6 months. It really depends on the type of visa. What we have seen because of COVID, for example, is people are running out of status or they were terminated. What people fail to
Mm,
understand is the minute you no longer work for the employer who sponsored you, your status, your immigration status terminates, or you have only a certain grace period depending on the type of visa you do have. You can't just sit and wait for something to happen or hope that you'll be safe just because of COVID. Oh, everybody's in this boat and
mm.
I'm going to be okay. That's not so. And immigration considers you having overstayed even one day as a bar to coming later and obtaining further benefits.
Okay. Okay. And then, so one of the questions, like about the marriage, how long of a process is it to walk through all of once they sign the papers and then all the different steps? How long of a process is that?
It really depends. Let's assume, for argument's sake, since we are in Fort Lauderdale, our field office is Oakland Park. So let's take
Okay.
Oakland Park, for example, because the timeline and the process differs by the location. The process
Okay.
may be similar, but the timeline may be different depending on their workload. And they do shift workload between offices. So somebody in Lower Broward may have an interview in Hialeah instead of Oakland Park if they are overworked. It really depends. It depends on the category of the application. Is it based on marriage? Is it not based on marriage? For typical right now, if you were to get married and file, say, August 1st, you should
Hmm.
reasonably expect to get a work permit in about 9 months. Then you should reasonably expect to have an interview in about 2 years for the
Mm,
initial green card. In the meantime, if your work permit expires, you can renew it. Does it
okay.
happen sooner rather than later? Yes, we have had people who we applied for this February, and they already received the green card without an interview. That is by no means something that is normal. It's
Hmm.
actually a miracle, but it does happen. We have people who are waiting since last year. So you never know where your case is going to fall.
So the work permit is what allows them to legally, so I'm clear, or you can answer, this is a question for you. The work permit is what allows them to apply for a job and legally be on payroll. Is that the way it
Correct.
works?
Correct.
Okay.
Once they receive the work permit, they will also receive the social security number. It's a difference of a
Hmm.
few weeks. Right now, it's actually works worse because the Social Security Administration is only working for critical matters, and they don't consider
Okay.
this to be critical. So once you have a work permit, you could reasonably apply for a position and hope you obtain employment. Theoretically, you cannot work until you have a social security number.
Okay. That was my follow-up question is, do they receive a social security number? So once they
They
receive the
do.
work
They
permit,
do. The process has changed last year in February, if I'm not mistaken, where it used to be. What used to be before February of last year is you get the work permit, then you have to physically go to the Social Security office and apply for a Social Security number. But they have
okay.
streamlined that process, and beginning with last year, the application form for immigration is actually asking, do you want to also get a Social Security number? And if you haven't had one in the previous years through another process, then as soon as Social Security Administration receives the information that the work permit was approved, they are going to issue a Social Security number to you, and you'll get it in the mail.
Okay. Okay.
Theoretically.
Uh, uh, Theoretically, everything is changing so much and so many people are
Yes.
working from home. Yes. Yeah. Do you advise people going through this process to have an immigration attorney? This obviously sounds very involved. Do almost everyone, should they seek out an immigration attorney?
They should definitely seek an immigration attorney at least for the first consultation.
Okay.
Nobody should, I don't believe anybody should proceed on doing it on their own, at least until they have talked to an immigration attorney. The process is not as streamlined as USCIS makes it to be. The worst thing you could possibly do is go on USCIS's website, get the forms, and start filling out forms. If you don't understand every single word that is on that application, and you cannot understand the question that is being asked, then you should not even consider doing it on your own. There are plenty of notarios and paralegals out there who perform form filling services or document assembly services. And what they fail to see is they are limited. Only the attorney can tell you how to answer a certain question based on your answer. They cannot do that for you. They take your answer and they just type it in the form for you. So for example, there is a question that says, have you ever been arrested for a crime involving moral turpitude? I don't know about you. I'm an attorney, and I'm telling you that definition changes every single week depending on case law that comes down. So what is considered a crime involving moral turpitude changes. There are other questions, and this is actually a good one for us, because most of our clientele are LGBT. And this comes up quite a bit. The question is, have you ever, here or anywhere in the world, been committed a crime for which you have not been arrested? And let's think about that for a second. You would say, nobody caught me. I'm going to say no. Well, that's not exactly the case. Country that you come from, say, for argument's sake, Pakistan. If same-sex marriage is illegal, and you are now in the United States, and you are married to your partner, okay? Theoretically, you are married, you broke that law, you just haven't been arrested yet because you have not gone back, and you could theoretically be arrested. So you did commit a crime, and you have not been arrested for that. Now, there are about 80-something questions on that application about this. And if you think, this is just one example. There is no way you can get lucky, but it's not done right.
And those few nuances of questions could make it or break it, whether or not it passes and whether or not you get through.
All the time. We see it all the time. About 50% of the cases we get are people who have either tried to do it on their own, or they had a paralegal or a notario do it for them. And they get denials, and at some point they either have no option whatsoever, or their options are very limited. And whatever money you think you're saving in the beginning by not hiring somebody, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg later to try to fix it, even if you have a.
This has been probably a subplot in every sitcom that's come on TV of someone trying to marry someone. I don't know. I think when writers run out of things, they think they'll bring on a character and make this a sitcom. And it's just one of the things that they do for some reason. And one of the things is, do people come, and what's the interview process like when they start asking the personal questions? Do they come to your house? And I think that's probably the thing that most people, whether they consider it or not, are most curious about, and the personal questions in the interview.
Okay, yeah, there are two things. So one is, do they come to my house? And the second one is, are they really going to ask me all those intimate questions at the interview? And the answer is yes to both. It is not. It is somewhat at random, but it is not at random. It really depends on how strong your initial application is when you submit it. It depends on if all your I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed, and there is no information whatsoever in your entire application package that does not contradict itself. And we see that quite a bit on self-prepared applications. We see where, for example, from a relative does not exactly match one of the parties' addresses. So, or doesn't match with the timeline. They said we met at work, but that person says, well, I haven't worked during that period of time. And based on that, they are going to assume something is not right about the application, and then they are going to look into the marriage further. You might not even know that they have come to your house, because they don't always knock on your door and ask to come in.
Oh, wow.
Yes, we had a client. Green card application was denied based on what the doorman at the building said. And the doorman at the realtor dealt with the business partner because the property was bought, the condo top floor was bought by the business. And they have never seen the client. They had their own parking location with their own private elevator that would go to the penthouse directly. They never went through the lobby. No, well, immigration, the fraud detection unit only asked the doorman, have you ever seen this guy? No, I never seen him. I don't know who he is. He doesn't live here. And that's where the case went. They asked the realtor the same thing. No, this guy is married, but yeah, that was the business partner who bought the property. It wasn't the guy who actually lives there. So we won on appeal. It's just to go through that, it's insane. And yes, they do ask the intimate questions. Who initiated, how and when, and be prepared to answer that. You want a green card, you are going to answer that. They are not violating any rights by asking you those questions. So, yeah, comes up.
Yeah, it's a fascinating process, and I've known people who've gone through the process and have talked about some of the questions that they ask, and they seem very very valid questions. How else are you going to find out unless you ask? So
exactly.
And what happens if the marriage doesn't work out? If it's a legitimate marriage, and marriages sometimes just don't work out, what happens next?
It really depends on where the couple is in the immigration process. It depends on where in the immigration process the foreign national is. Are you you just got married and nothing was applied for you? You got married, you have an application pending, but you have no decision, or you had your first interview and then something's going on in your marriage, or you already have your conditional 2-year residency and now things are not going great and you have to apply for removal of conditions. And really what the options are depends on where you are in the process. That being said, it also depends on why the marriage is not working out. Is it not working out because of simple irreconcilable differences, or are there allegations of domestic abuse, domestic violence? And let's not confuse violence and abuse. They are totally different things. You can still keep your green card if your U.S. citizen spouse, for example, financially abuses you, takes all the money after you come back from work and does a bunch of other things. I don't want to get into it because it's too much and it's too traumatic for some people. But there is financial abuse, psychological abuse, and many other different types. We see that a lot with people who get married through marriage brokers. We see that quite a bit in terms of psychological abuse in some of our LGBT clients. And marriages don't always last, but that doesn't mean it's the end of the world or it's the end of your immigration status in the United States. The same applies with the foreign national being accused of violence by their partner, their U.S. citizen partner. Being accused of domestic violence, whether convicted or not, could really put a big stop to your immigration case. So that needs to be handled first and as soon as possible, not to affect your immigration status.
Very interesting. Yeah, and I've also talked to some people who are in that same situation. One of the questions I have, a lot of time people do prenuptial agreements.
Yes.
Do you help with those prenuptial agreements as well?
Yes, we do. We help with prenuptial agreements if they're pretty simple, and we do help our clients with them if we need to create alternative options for certain assets, then I would probably refer them out. But we do it for most of our clients. They should consider, especially when it's, let me put it this way. If you have a US citizen marrying somebody from Switzerland who's highly educated, in some cases, the person from Switzerland might have more assets than the US citizen. If you are marrying somebody, and I don't mean to put any stereotypical, I'm just giving as an example. If you have somebody marrying somebody from Nigeria or Venezuela or other countries, it could be totally different. The difference in assets and in difference in earning capacity, not necessarily current earnings, is what should prompt someone to consider a prenuptial agreement. The divorce rate is pretty high in the United States, and when you add cultural differences to this, the divorce rate is even higher. So, I mean, I can give you stories, but you don't want to hear that.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of interesting stories. It's a very fascinating topic, and I've had people who've gone through the process, and I know people who have gone through the process, and they are very happy couples.
Yes.
There's some very happy couples, and it has worked out for them, and it I can say it is the love of their life, and they are legit as they can be.
Oh,
And
yes.
I've heard some horror stories. So but you know what? I think that's life when it comes to relationships. We roll the dice, but it is a process. I I I would highly recommend someone like you helping them along the process, because it's very complicated, as you've outlined, and having someone who's got the knowledge would be very helpful.
Well, let me put it this way. So I've been through this process for 16 years, and after about 10 years in my own process, and I applied for asylum, and I was denied, and then I was put in immigration court proceedings. So I didn't know what was going on, and I was getting really, really frustrated. If you really think about it, your life is on hold for that period of time, and you cannot move on, and you cannot move on with your goals. You can't even make goals because you don't know where you are going to be. So I eventually hired an attorney, and he wasn't recommended. I didn't know how good he was or whatever, and he asked for $5,000 down, and I was like, I don't make that in 6 months. I don't know how I'm going to come up with that. But you make it happen. If your life and your future is your priority, you make it happen. But it starts with a decision. The decision is, I'm going to do it once. I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do it with as little headache as I can. And that was the turning point in my case. Because I had a plan, I could finally breathe a little bit. And yes, it was the turning point. So the thing starts with a decision, like anything else. If you want to lose weight, you have to decide you're going to lose weight. Just hoping it's going to happen, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. I remember when gay marriage was coming through the court system, and there were a lot of debates about it. And one of the funniest jokes, I think, from the straight people was, of course, gays should get married. They should be punished like the rest of us.
Yes, I remember that.
They should be punished like the rest of us. Yes. So it's really amazing that we have come to a point in our country where we can get married in all 50 states. Everyone may not agree with it, but we can do it. I tell people, hold hands in public. Whatever behaviors are normal for the straight people should be normalized for us. When we are ashamed of who we are, people will put that label on us. I don't believe in inappropriate behaviors, but if it's things that the straight world could do, hold your hand, that kind of thing. We need to continue to normalize homosexual behavior, because we have the right now to get married. And that is, it still boggles my mind that we can do that, but we can do it and take advantage of it, and take advantage of being proud of who you are, but be proud of who you're with, no matter what country they're from or whatever it takes, but be proud of who you're with. And it's taken me a long time to say that, but it's just an exciting time for our country. And through all of this COVID, I think people are they're caring less about what everybody thinks and moving forward and trying to be happy. And there's a lot of opportunities for a lot of reshuffle in the world, and people are looking for options. And so I really appreciate your time. This has been amazing. Go ahead and share what else you would like to share.
Well, I wanted to say that COVID has not really affected us much, because our firm is very based It's based on technology a lot. We handle everything electronically. We have always, because we see clients everywhere in the world, it's never an issue of us being physically open. We, since March 16, we went on quarantine, and we are still quarantining, and there is really no reason for us to go back. We can handle everybody's case everywhere without having to physically meet with them in person. And it actually is preferred. We are maintaining social distancing. You can see me, and I can see you, versus meeting with me at the office and saying this. You do not see my entire face. I can't see your entire face. This establishes a better rapport. And clients love it. Clients love being able to see us. We are not stuck in traffic all the time, so we can see more people. It has actually worked out well for us and our clients. So it hasn't affected us. We are offering also, we are working, because so many people, especially in South Florida, work in the service industry, hotels, yachts, restaurants, and so on. Many of them have been laid off. It is difficult for them to come up with the money necessarily to hire an immigration attorney. And because of that, we do offer payment plans, we do offer financing, and when those are not possible, we offered, let us help you along your DIY process. So we are working on developing those products because of the situation our clients are in, and we need to work with them. We love our clients.
One of the advantages to the video is it almost speeds up the process, because rather than having to wait for a time to come to your office, find parking, and show up. And even if I have a 5 or 10 minute conversation to try to show up and find that conversation, we can schedule a quick 5-minute video chat. We can chat in person, or your clients can chat with you in person, and it may in a way speed up the process. We didn't do video before. There's a definite added dimension to communication skills to doing the video. And so for the services that you provide, this is maybe a way to just interact even more so with your clients than you had before, and on an national and international platform.
Yes, our current clients and some of our prospective clients or other associates or people who have contacted in the past and begged us to be on our newsletter, they do get our newsletter, and we do send that out every month, at least once or twice, and more often if there are topics that we feel that our people need to know. And get on our newsletter. We post a lot on social media. Our Facebook page is very, very active. And sometimes we post once or twice a day, depending on what news have come down from the current administration. And believe me when I tell you, it's every single day. And we do post a lot. Feel free to follow us on Facebook, follow us on any of our social media for up-to-date information, so you don't have to rely on noise from Google.
Yes. We have your website up. There's your information.
Yes.
Let me get to that other. I've got 2 things going at once. So where can they sign up for your? Where can they sign up for your? Oh, here's your email list.
For the new, yes, there is the newsletter sign up. You can also do it on the right side where it says submit, and on top, above the fold, is higher.
Oh, go up.
Yeah, there you go. There you can schedule a consultation there. You can also click to dial and connect to us directly from the website. We have the chat. You can connect with our office on chat. We are available. It's you have many ways of getting in touch with us should you want to.
Good.
You can find our books. I mean, I wrote 2 specific books. One of them was addressed specifically for families with some LGBT topics in the book as well. You can find those on Amazon.
Okay. And it's important to know that you are both LGBT and for everyone, because it's important, because if in seeking this kind of service, not everyone is comfortable with working with LGBT clients, and this is such a personal issue that seeking someone who is LGBT or LGBT friendly or has proactive like this is so important. because it's going to involve your personal life, and that is very, very important to our community. Arthur's
Anything,
pointing me to scroll
anything.
down. So
yeah, there is plenty. You don't want to go through the whole thing,
okay.
but we got the video. There is same-sex marriage is treated the same
Oh.
way. That's one of the books.
Okay.
Yes, you want to become. You need to know this though. Everything when you come and see us at our firm, regardless of who you speak with, within our firm, everything is held in strict confidentiality.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing ever leaves the office. We would not go and talk to your friends. If you want to tell your friends about it, that's on you. It's not on us.
Yes. But having an attorney that's comfortable with an LGBT couple is vitally important, because you don't want to get too far down the process and realize it's not. But I appreciate that. And here's your book. So
yeah, that's one of them. And there is another one on Amazon that, didn't make it to the website yet, but that's okay.
There you go. Very good. And you're active in a lot of chambers. You're active in several groups. So you're all over the community.
Yes, I am. I have been a member of the Greater Fort Lauderdale Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce for almost 4 years at this point.
Well, good. So one of the last questions I ask everyone through this is, what are some encouraging words you can give people during this time? And it can be about immigration or not, or just encouraging words about life in general.
If there is a way, we'll find it. That's first. Second, don't let this administration create even more division than we already have. There are things that are here now, but they will go away. There are things that are going to make our life easier. We have to maintain a positive outlook, and we have to be forward-looking. We cannot look at the past, because that keeps us there. We have to make a decision to move on with our lives, and we have to make that decision to be good for us, to be good for our community, to be good for our partners. And no better way to do that than living in the present and making those decisions that are going to positively affect your future.
That's very good. I appreciate that. And then my second to last question is there anything I didn't ask that you wanted to cover?
No, I think we went over a lot. I think it's great.
Thank you. Thank you for the information. It's very valuable information. So when people are going through the process. And then always my last question is, how do we find you online? We put up your website, but let's retell your website and social media.
Okay, so you can find us on Facebook. Everything is under Law Offices of Connie Kaplan. You can just click for that, or you can go to our website, conniekaplanlawyer.com. Our phone number is on the screen. You'll see it now, 954-357-0957, or you can call the number on the website. And we are also on Twitter and YouTube. You will find many YouTube videos that address some of the issues we discussed.
Okay, and your offices are in?
My office is in Fort Lauderdale. I'm directly across the street from the Broward County Courthouse in the 110 Tower.
Okay.
But I'm comfortably working from home and not going there anytime soon.
That's true. That's true where your office is. Very good. Well, I really appreciate your time. We are outclick.com, outclique.com. You can also text 22828. No, text OCQ to 22828 for more information on us. Connie, it's been a real joy talking to you, and thank you for the wealth of information.
Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate it, and I look forward to hearing from you or anyone else in our community.
Thank you. We'll do some follow-up questions and interview. I think we could probably talk for hours on this topic, so I appreciate your time.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Have a great one. Thank you.